Most videos that promise you can beat 99% of people are lying to you, not because the advice itself is wrong, but because it quietly assumes you already have leverage. In 2026, you do not beat 99% by working harder, waking up earlier, or building better habits. You beat 99% by leaving the lane they are all trapped in, fast. The biggest lie is work harder. If hard work were the answer, most people would not be struggling. That sentence alone offends many people. Because from childhood, we were trained to believe that effort is sacred, that if you just try harder, stay disciplined, and push through, things will eventually work out. That belief used to be true, but in a very different world. In 2026, work harder is no longer advice. It is a trap, not because effort is bad, but because effort has become cheap. The modern economy is flooded with hard workers. They wake up early, they stay late, they grind relentlessly, they optimize routines, they listen to podcasts at 1.25 times speed, they track habits, they constantly improve themselves, and they all stay broke. The uncomfortable truth is simple. Hard work stopped being a competitive advantage the moment everyone adopted it. In an overcrowded system, effort does not get rewarded. It gets neutralized. When millions of people are willing to work long hours for the same outcomes, the market does not pay more. It pays less. Telling people to just work harder today is like telling them to run faster on a treadmill that's already at maximum speed. You burn more energy, but you do not move forward. Yet almost all mainstream success advice still starts there. Wake up earlier, be more disciplined, remove distractions, optimize habits. All of this assumes one thing that is no longer true. That effort still has leverage. It does not. In 2026, effort is abundant, time is abundant, talent is abundant. Leverage is scarce. The biggest lie people believe is that they are losing because they are not trying hard enough, when in reality, they are losing because they are playing a game designed to absorb effort without producing disproportionate returns. Look at the lanes most people are in: corporate jobs, freelance marketplaces, small local businesses, content platforms dependent on algorithms. These lanes are saturated. They reward compliance, consistency, and predictability, not breakthrough. Inside these environments, working harder does not make you richer. It makes you more useful to the system you are trapped in. This is the part nobody wants to admit. When you double your effort in a crowded lane, you do not double your income. You stabilize your position. You become more reliable, more dependable, and more replaceable, just slightly harder to fire. That is not progress. That is containment. The reason this lie persists is psychological, not economic. Work harder feels moral. It feels virtuous. It allows people to believe they are doing the right thing even when results never arrive. It protects their self-image. Because if the problem is simply that you haven't worked hard enough yet, you never have to confront the more dangerous possibility that your entire direction is wrong. Most people would rather exhaust themselves than admit they chose the wrong lane. Effort is comforting because it is controllable. Position is terrifying because it is not. No one wants to hear that the game itself is broken for them, especially after they've already invested years into it. So instead, they double down. They wake up earlier, optimize further, consume more advice, become more disciplined, and sink deeper. This is why motivation content thrives. It gives people something to do without forcing them to change where they stand. It keeps them busy. But money does not care how busy you are. It cares where you are positioned. In 2026, the economy does not reward people who work the hardest. It rewards people who are hardest to ignore. Those are not the same people. Hard work made sense in eras where effort was scarce, when simply showing up already put you ahead, when information wasn't free, when competition was limited by geography. That world is gone. Today, effort is global. You are competing with millions of people across time zones who are just as hungry, just as disciplined, and often willing to work for less. In that environment, effort becomes a baseline, not a differentiator. The market does not ask who worked hardest. It asks who controls something scarce, and most people control nothing scarce. They control their time, their effort, their discipline, all abundant, they do not control leverage. That is why so many people feel stuck despite doing everything right. They followed the advice, stayed consistent, remained patient, but patience inside a dead-end lane only means arriving at the same place more exhausted. The truth is brutal but simple. Hard work does not create escape velocity. Position does. Most people sense this subconsciously. That's why resentment appears when others succeed quickly. Must be luck, must be privilege, must be timing. These explanations protect them from the real conclusion. That effort alone was never enough. The system does not reward effort equally. It rewards effort applied at leverage points. And if you are not near one of those points, your effort gets diluted. Think of it this way. You can pour water endlessly into sand, and it disappears. Or you can pour a small amount into a container, and it accumulates. Most people are pouring effort into sand and wondering why nothing fills up, because they were taught that effort equals virtue. So when results don't come, they assume the problem must be them, not the container, so they pour more. This is why telling people to just work harder is not neutral advice. It actively keeps them trapped. It keeps them focused on intensity instead of direction, discipline instead of leverage, behavior instead of position. And that is exactly why it gets repeated everywhere. Advice that does not threaten the structure gets amplified. Advice that questions the lane itself does not. In the next part, something even more uncomfortable will be exposed. Why being surrounded by other hard-working people is one of the fastest ways to stay average, and why the crowd itself is the penalty. The moment you step into the same lane as everyone else, you've already accepted a ceiling, no matter how disciplined you are. Because money avoids crowds, and until that is understood, every ounce of effort you add only makes you better at staying exactly where you are. This is the crowd penalty. Most people believe safety comes from doing what everyone else is doing. That belief feels logical. If many people choose the same path, it must be stable. If a lane is crowded, it must be proven. If something is popular, it must work. This is one of the most expensive assumptions a person can make, because in reality, being in the same lane as the crowd does not protect you. It penalizes you. Crowds do not create opportunity. They consume it. Every time a lane becomes safe, it also becomes saturated, and the moment a lane is saturated, returns collapse. This is not a moral statement, it is a structural one. The modern economy punishes predictability, and nothing is more predictable than a crowd. Think about what people call safe choices: a stable job, a respectable career, a skill everyone recommends learning, a business model with thousands of tutorials on YouTube. These things feel safe because they are familiar. Familiarity is not safety. T is visibility. ND visibility attracts competition. You choose a lane because it feels safe. What you are actually choosing is a lane where millions of other people already are, or are actively moving into. ND, when supply explodes, value dies. Here's is why following mainstream advice almost guarantees average outcomes. OT, because the advice is wrong in isolation, but because it directs too many people to the same destination. Earn to code. Start a dropshipping store. Become a freelancer. Yield a personal brand. Create content. One of these are bad ideas. The moment they become mass advice, they stop being leverage. Market does not reward what is common. T discounts it. Society pushes people toward crowded lanes intentionally, because crowded lanes are easier to manage. Predictable people are controllable. Catted ambition is dangerous. Organized ambition moving through narrow, defined paths is easy to absorb. His is why the system constantly promotes stability. Stability sounds responsible. Stability sounds mature. Stability sounds like adulthood. Stability, in economic terms, usually means something very specific. Our variance, our upside. ND, total dependence on continuity. Table paths are designed to keep NGS running, not to create outsized outcomes. This is the distinction most people never learn to make. Stable does not mean scalable. A stable system works as long as nothing changes. A scalable system grows faster than the effort put into it. Most people spend their lives optimizing for stability and then wonder why they never experience exponential results. They choose jobs where income increases linearly. They choose businesses that require constant presence. They choose skills that cap out quickly. They choose environments where growth is incremental by design. And they call this being realistic. But realism, when shared by millions, becomes a ceiling. Crowded lanes reward compliance, not initiative, reliability, not leverage, fitting in, not expansion. This is why being surrounded by hard-working people often makes you poorer over time, because effort only compounds when it is applied in uncrowded territory. Inside a crowd, effort cancels out. Everyone is trying, everyone is grinding, everyone is improving. So the advantage disappears. What remains is price competition, burnout, and marginal gains. This is why people in crowded lanes obsess over optimization. They optimize schedules, workflows, productivity, habits. Because when direction cannot change, intensity becomes the only variable left. But intensity inside a crowded lane does not produce escape. It produces exhaustion. The crowd penalty works quietly. It does not look like failure. It looks like stagnation. You are busy, functional, surviving, but capped. The most dangerous part is that the penalty feels like responsibility. You tell yourself, at least I'm being sensible, at least I'm not reckless, at least I'm doing what makes sense. Meanwhile, the structure quietly extracts your upside. This is why society praises reliability so much. Reliable people do not disrupt systems. They do not create volatility. They show up, perform, and repeat. From the system's perspective, that is ideal. From an individual wealth perspective, it is limiting. Wealth does not come from being reliable. It comes from being unavoidable. And crowds produce the opposite of that. In a crowd, you are optional. If you leave, someone else steps in. If you slow down, someone else speeds up. If you burn out, someone else replaces. This is not because you are incompetent. It is because the lane was designed that way. Crowds compress value, flatten differentiation, and turn people into units. No amount of personal branding, mindset work, or motivation can override that structural reality. This is why people who do everything right still get stuck. They chose a lane that rewards conformity, and then try to outwork a structure that neutralizes effort. The crowd reinforces the illusion. When everyone around you is struggling the same way, your situation feels normal. You compare sideways instead of upward. You measure progress relative to peers, not potential. This is how ceilings become invisible. The crowd does not just limit your income, it limits your thinking. It normalizes scarcity, slow growth, and compromise. And because everyone around you accepts those constraints, questioning them feels irrational, even dangerous. This is why leaving a crowded lane feels terrifying. Not because it is objectively impossible, but because the moment you step away, you lose the psychological comfort of consensus. You no longer have numbers to hide inside, no validation from shared struggle, no excuse of this is just how it is. You are exposed, and that exposure is exactly where leverage begins. Once you step away from the crowd, you lose the psychological cover of normal. No collective validation, no shared excuses, no shared timelines, no shared our definitions of success. That is the real cost. Most people cannot pay. They would rather be wrong with everyone else than uncertain alone. And this is exactly why money avoids crowds. Money flows toward asymmetry, toward places where few people are positioned, toward structures that do not require mass participation. Crowds create competition. Competition compresses margins. Compressed margins kill wealth. This is why real leverage almost always looks strange at first. It has no clear roadmap, no universal approval, no thousands of tutorials. If it did, it would already be crowded. The paradox is brutal. By the time something feels safe, it is already too late. This leads to a rule that governs almost all financial outcomes, yet is almost never stated directly. Money avoids crowds the way intelligent people avoid traffic. Not because traffic is evil, but because traffic guarantees delay. You do not get ahead by driving faster inside a traffic jam. You get ahead by choosing a different route entirely. And the crowd penalty does not stop with where you work. It follows you into how you think. Which brings us to another lie that quietly keeps people trapped. Discipline does not make you rich. Discipline is one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern success culture. It is praised relentlessly, romanticized endlessly, treated as if it were a shortcut to power. But discipline does not make you rich. It makes you reliable, and those are not the same thing. In today's economy, discipline is not leverage. It is the baseline. You are not special because you wake up early. You are not rare because you work out. You are not ahead because you follow a routine. You are not dangerous because you are consistent. You are simply compliant with expectations that millions of other people already meet. This is where most people get confused. They mistake self-control for strategic advantage. They mistake structure for progress. They mistake cleanliness for usefulness. Discipline helps you stay inside a system longer. It does not help you escape it. In many cases, discipline actually makes people easier to trap. Because a disciplined person will tolerate more, endure more, stay longer in low-leverage positions. They are trained to push through. This is why so many disciplined people feel a quiet resentment they can't fully explain. They did everything right. They followed the rules. They optimized their lives. And the payoff never came. The truth is simple, but uncomfortable. Discipline is necessary, but never sufficient. When discipline is applied without leverage, it becomes a liability. The productivity industry will never tell you this, because productivity content exists to help people function better inside systems, not to help them question whether the system is worth functioning in at all. That is why nearly all productivity advice has nothing to do with money. Morning routines, habit tracking, time blocking, deep work, cold showers, clean diets, minimalism, monk mode. These things may improve clarity, health, or a sense of control, but none of them create direct contact with money. Money does not respond to cleanliness. It responds to value flow. This is the missing link most people never see. A morning routine does not create revenue. A perfectly optimized calendar does not create leverage. A disciplined lifestyle does not automatically place you near opportunity. All discipline does is make you more efficient at whatever you are already doing. And if what you are already doing has a ceiling, discipline just helps you hit that ceiling faster. This is why so many disciplined people plateau early. They become excellent at executing tasks and terrible at choosing which tasks matter. They build a clean life instead of a useful one. A clean life looks impressive. Structured days, healthy habits, clear goals, minimal distractions. A useful life looks messy. Uneven schedules, asymmetric effort, intense focus followed by long pauses, uncomfortable trade-offs. The clean life is optimized for order. The useful life is optimized for outcome. And wealth comes from outcome, not discipline. This is where productivity culture becomes actively harmful. It trains people to believe that if they just organize themselves better, results will eventually follow. But organization does not create leverage. It only reduces friction. If there is no leverage in the system, removing friction simply makes stagnation more comfortable. This is why productivity content scales so well. It gives people something to do without forcing them to confront the question they avoid. What am I actually building? Most people never answer that, honestly. They are busy, disciplined, exhausted, but they are not building anything that compounds, because compounding does not come from routine. It comes from positioning. Discipline, in real terms, only means one thing. You can execute consistently. Execution is valuable only when applied to a lever. Without a lever, execution just burns fuel. That is why two people with identical discipline levels can end up in completely different financial realities. One is disciplined inside a capped environment, the other is disciplined near a leverage point. Same effort, same consistency, radically different outcomes. The difference is not mindset, it is position. Position is rarely discussed because it cannot be taught as a checklist. It requires judgment, risk, timing, and a willingness to be wrong publicly. Discipline feels safer. It is internal, controllable, identity-preserving. Positioning is not, if you choose the wrong position. No amount of discipline will save you. This is why people cling to routines so aggressively. Routines give the illusion of progress without the danger of exposure. You can tell yourself you are on the path without ever testing whether the path leads anywhere. This is also why highly productive people often avoid one specific action: leaving the lane. Because leaving the lane removes excuses, removes cover, removes the crowd, and once the crowd is gone, there is nowhere left to hide. High-leverage actions are uncomfortable. They involve uncertainty, rejection, asymmetric risk. They do not fit neatly into a daily planner. You cannot habit track leverage. You cannot optimize it cleanly. You cannot guarantee its payoff. So people default to what feels virtuous. They clean their lives instead of confronting leverage, and the system rewards this behavior. A disciplined worker is valuable. A disciplined employee is predictable. A disciplined freelancer is dependable. But none of these roles require the system to adjust around you. You adjust to the system. That is the tell. If your discipline makes you easier to integrate, easier to rely on, and easier to replace, it is not creating wealth. It is creating stability. And stability without upside is containment. This is why many people who look successful on the surface are not disciplined in the way the internet imagines. Their schedules are messy, their routines are inconsistent, they break rules constantly, but they are ruthless about leverage. They spend little time on low-impact tasks. They ignore most advice. They concentrate effort where it multiplies. They do not care if their life looks clean. They care if their actions are effective. And effectiveness is not moral, it is structural. A useful action is one that changes your position. A disciplined action that does not. Do that is just maintenance. Maintenance keeps you alive. It does not move you forward. This is why discipline often delays the moment people are forced to confront reality. They stay longer in bad positions because they are handling it. They tolerate underpayment because they are resilient. They endure boredom because they are committed. And by the time they recognize the trade-off, years are gone. The tragedy is that discipline could have been an asset if it had been aimed correctly. But aim matters more than intensity. A laser and a flashlight can use the same amount of energy. Only one cuts. The difference is not discipline. It is focus applied to leverage. Most people never redirect their discipline. They just refine it. They become extremely good at staying stuck. So here is the reality. Most people do not want to hear. If your discipline has not produced disproportionate results, it is not because you lack discipline. It is because discipline was never the missing piece. Leverage was. And leverage does not come from waking up earlier, living cleaner, or optimizing harder. It comes from being positioned where effort multiplies. Until then, discipline without leverage is just organized stagnation, which brings us to the positional truth about money. Money does not flow to effort. It does not flow to intelligence. It does not flow to morality. It does not even flow to discipline. Money flows to position. That single sentence explains almost every financial inequality people complain about, and almost every failure they refuse to understand. Most people think money is a reward. It is not. Money is a response to pressure, to dependency, to structural importance. If you want to understand why some people are paid absurd amounts while others grind endlessly for crumbs, stop asking who works hardest. Ask a more uncomfortable question. What breaks if this person disappears? That is the only metric that matters. Position is not your job title, not your credentials, not your skills in isolation. Position is the relationship between what you do and what the system needs to keep functioning. A position exists only when your absence creates cost, delay, risk, or chaos. No absence, no leverage, no money. This is the brutal truth modern society avoids teaching. Because once people understand position, they stop accepting moral explanations for financial outcomes. They stop believing money is about fairness. They start seeing the structure. So let's define position clearly. A position is a point in a system where decisions bottleneck, where value concentrates, or where consequences accumulate. It is not about how much you do. It is about how much your absence hurts. Most people never think this way. They think in tasks, hours, effort, compliance. They ask how to become better at what they do. That question keeps them replaceable. The correct question is far more dangerous. What role do I play that cannot be easily removed, outsourced, or ignored? Very few people want to ask that because the answer is often uncomfortable. It forces you to confront the possibility that what you do does not actually matter structurally, that you are busy but not essential, active but not critical, visible but not necessary. This is where ego collapses. To understand how money really flows, you have to understand the three positional layers that govern every system on Earth. Layer 1, the replaceable position. This is where the majority of people live and die. Replaceable means your output is standardized, your tasks are well-defined, your performance can be benchmarked, your replacement cost is low. If you disappear, someone else can be trained, hired, or automated with minimal disruption. The system barely notices. Replaceable positions are not evil, they are necessary. They keep systems running, but they do not accumulate power. In replaceable positions, money is capped because risk is capped. The system does not fear losing you, so it does not pay you to stay. It pays you just enough to remain functional. This is why people in replaceable roles cling to stability. Stability is the only advantage the system offers them. And stability is not wealth, it is containment. Layer 2, the hard-to-replace position. This is where many people confuse value with leverage. Hard to replace means specialized knowledge, accumulated experience, contextual understanding, a non-trivial onboarding cost. If you disappear, the system feels it. Projects slow, quality drops, costs increase, but nothing breaks completely. The system is inconvenienced, not threatened. This is where professionals, senior employees, high-skill freelancers, and experts often sit. They are respected, well-paid compared to average, but still capped, because the system can still function without them. Eventually, hard to replace increases income. It does not create power, which leads to the final layer, Layer 3, the irreplaceable position. This is where leverage begins. Irreplaceable does not mean no one else can do what you do. It means removing you creates immediate damage, revenue stalls, decisions freeze, risk spikes, the system becomes unstable. Your absence creates consequences. This is where money concentrates. Not because you are virtuous, not because you work harder, but because the system depends on you. This is why real wealth looks unfair, because it is not distributed by effort. It is distributed by dependency. And until someone understands that, they will keep optimizing discipline, routines, and habits while wondering why nothing changes. Because discipline makes you efficient, position makes you unavoidable, and only one of those creates wealth. Clean script continuation, narration ready. The system is annoyed, not threatened. People in hard-to-replace positions often earn more. They are respected, consulted, praised. And this is where many people stop climbing, because hard to replace feels like success. But here is the truth most people miss. Hard to replace is still replaceable. Given enough time, money, or desperation, the system adapts, someone else learns, processes change, tools improve, your edge erodes. You are valuable but not indispensable. Your leverage exists, but it is temporary. This is why people in this tier live with quiet anxiety. They sense their value, but they also sense how fragile it is. One mistake, one shift, one reorganization can erase years of advantage. So they work harder, optimize more, protect their position, but protection is not power. Now we reach the third layer, the unavoidable position. This is where money concentrates violently. Unavoidable means decisions cannot move without you, value cannot flow without you, and risk increases sharply in your absence. If you disappear, the system must reorganize around the loss, not because you are talented, but because you are structurally embedded. Unavoidable positions are rare because they are uncomfortable to occupy. They require responsibility, they attract scrutiny, they create enemies. They cannot be earned through obedience. They must be taken. This is where people stop being paid for labor and start being paid for leverage. This is where income becomes non-linear, where time detaches from reward, where effort stops correlating with outcome. And this is why most people will never reach this layer, because unavoidable positions are not given. They are resisted. Systems do not want dependency. They tolerate it only when forced. And to force dependency, you must do something most people refuse to do. Move into risk. Unavoidable positions sit at the intersection of uncertainty and consequence. They are not clean, not safe, not morally comfortable. They involve ownership, control, and responsibility. Once you understand this, a lot of comforting lies fall apart. You see why society avoids teaching position. Because if people understood position, they would stop optimizing behavior and start questioning structure. They would stop chasing promotions and start asking who actually decides. They would stop polishing resumes and start building choke points.
This is dangerous knowledge. A population that understands position is harder to manage.
They stop accepting rewards that do not reflect structural importance. They start negotiating, walking away, and building parallel systems. So instead, society teaches morality, work hard, be disciplined, follow rules, stay patient, trust the process. These are not lies, they are containment tools. They keep people productive without giving them leverage. Because power is not moral, it is positional. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Here is the final test of position. If you disappear and nothing breaks, you have no power, not potential power, not moral power, not future power, no power at all. And power is what money responds to. This is not cruel, it is not unfair, it is structural. And once you accept that, the game changes. You stop asking how to become better and start asking where you need to stand so that your absence creates consequences. That question is the beginning of wealth, not hustle, not discipline, not motivation, position. Why 36 month size real in 2026? Now we dismantle the final illusion. Richer than 99% in 36 months. Most people hear that and instantly label it a scam. That reaction is understandable. In stable eras, it would be correct. But 2026 is not stable. 36 months becomes realistic only during disruption. And 2026 is not just disruptive. It is compounded disruption. Economic pressure is intensifying. Technology is accelerating. Institutions are lagging. Culture is confused. These conditions do not distribute opportunity evenly. They create gaps. And during chaos, wealth does not come from effort. It comes from positioning faster than others can react. This is where most people misunderstand. Speed. They think speed means working harder, producing more, sleeping less. It doesn't. Speed means repositioning before the crowd understands what is happening. Right now, most people are still optimizing inside collapsing lanes. They are upgrading skills for roles that are shrinking, competing harder in markets that are saturating, waiting for clarity that will never arrive. While they wait, the window opens and then quietly closes. Transfers are never polite. They are not announced. They are not fair. They do not wait for consensus. They reward early movement, not perfect preparation. In stable eras, depth of skill matters more than speed. In unstable eras, speed of repositioning destroys depth of skill. And 2026 is unstable. AI is not coming. It is already embedded. But the mistake most people make is assuming AI destroys opportunity. It doesn't. It destroys old positions, which is exactly why opportunity explodes for those who move before equilibrium returns. AI does not eliminate value. It relocates it. And relocation creates temporary asymmetry. Asymmetry is where wealth forms. Most people experience AI as a threat because they're attached to tasks. Tasks are easy to automate. Positions are not. AI compresses execution, lowers the cost of production, and removes friction. That does not make everyone equal. It makes positioning decisive. When execution becomes cheap, distribution becomes everything. When production becomes easy, ownership becomes rare. When skill barriers collapse, attention, leverage, and coordination matter more than ever. So the path is not outwork the world, it's exit the wrong lane early enough. And that brings us to the simplest reality. Most people are not losing because they lack skill. They are losing because they refuse to move until the move feels safe. and by the time it feels safe, the window is closed. Repositioning always looks reckless to those who are still standing still. Being roughly right early beats being perfectly right too late. This is why modest ability is outperforming expertise right now. Not because the movers are smarter, because they moved, they accepted imperfection, embarrassment, incomplete understanding. While others debated, they claimed territory, and territory is always claimed before it is validated. You are not late. The window is still open, but it is closing. And the difference between winners and losers will not be intelligence or work ethic. It will be whether you moved while others were still thinking. You are not late. You are just still standing still. The only 3 moves that matter. At this stage, most people ask for tactics, steps, tools, systems they can copy without changing how they think. That instinct is exactly why they fail. Beating 99% does not require extreme habits, perfect routines, or superhuman discipline. It requires 3 decisions, and almost everyone refuses to make them, not because they don't understand them, because each decision demands a form of loss that feels psychologically unbearable. If you want to win, you don't need to do more. You need to stop playing the wrong game. And the wrong G-game is optimization inside a losing lane. Move 1. Exit any lane that does not touch money directly. This sounds obvious, but it isn't. Most people are not broke because they are lazy. They are broke because their effort is structurally disconnected from revenue. They operate in lanes where value is abstract, impact is delayed, and reward is filtered through layers of approval. They are paid after value is interpreted, not when it is created. If your performance does not immediately influence money, you are not in a wealth lane. You are in a support lane. A support lane can be honorable, but it will not make you rich, because you are not paid by the market. You are paid by someone else's interpretation of the market, and interpretation is where your upside gets stolen. A wealth lane has one defining feature. When you create value, money moves, not later, not eventually, not after permission. Now, if there is no direct connection between what you do and what gets paid, you can optimize forever and still plateau. Because you are not building leverage, you are building reliability, and reliability is not a wealth strategy. It is a survival strategy. Move 2. Step into a position where outcomes scale without your hours. The fastest way to stay poor is to tie income to presence. If you must show up every day for money to move, you are capped by design. A wealth lane is one where a single decision, asset, relationship, distribution channel, or system can multiply outcomes without multiplying time. This is why ownership matters more than effort. Ownership of distribution, ownership of access, ownership of a pipeline, ownership of a system that keeps producing. After you stop. Move 3. Become unavoidable at a choke point. Not valuable, unavoidable. Pick one bottleneck in one system and embed yourself so deeply that removing you causes pain. P. Ein creates negotiation power. Negotiation power creates asymmetric reward. This is why people who sit at interfaces win. Between demand and solution, between attention and execution, between confusion and automation, between problem and coordination. They don't need to be the best worker. They need to be the hardest to replace where money already wants to flow. That is what leverage is. Support lanes stabilize systems. They do not enrich individuals. They reward reliability, not leverage. The trap is that these lanes often feel meaningful, respectable, and busy, which is exactly why people stay and tell themselves it will pay off later. But groundwork without proximity to money is just delayed irrelevance. The honest test is simple. If you perform twice as well, does more money appear immediately? If the answer is no, your value is judged, not priced. And judged value is always capped. Exiting these lanes feels irresponsible because society glorifies contribution without consequence. But money does not reward contribution, it rewards exposure to risk, demand, and outcome. That discomfort is the entry fee most people never pay. The second move is repositioning into a role with direct money contact. People misunderstand this. Money contact does not mean scams, manipulation, or a sales stereotype. It simply means your actions directly influence revenue, without permission, interpretation, or delay. If you do something well, money moves. If you don't, it doesn't. Creators, dealmakers, owners, and operators tied directly to revenue have money contact. Support roles do not. This matters because money contact creates fast feedback, and fast feedback destroys illusion. You immediately see what works, what doesn't, what people actually pay for, and what they only pretend to value. That is why money contact terrifies people. It removes excuses. You can't hide behind effort, credentials, or intentions. The market responds instantly. Without money contact, you optimize blind. With money contact, reality forces alignment. Money contact doesn't require mastery. It requires relevance. You don't need to be the best, you need to be useful in context. AI has made this unavoidable. Execution is cheap, production is fast. What matters is connecting demand to solutions and capturing value. The third move is compressing effort into a short, aggressive time window. This is where most people sabotage themselves even after making the first two moves. They think long-term, pace themselves, and aim for sustainability. That mindset is poison during repositioning. Long-term thinking works only after you're already in the right lane. If you're in the wrong lane, thinking long-term just means staying wrong longer. Short-term intensity is not about burnout. It is about escape velocity. You are not building a perfect system. You are breaking dependency on paychecks, approval, certainty, and identity. Compressed effort collapses feedback loops, exposes false assumptions quickly, and reveals leverage fast. Time pressure kills the fantasy. You stop polishing, preparing, and pretending. You act. Most people spread effort thin because it feels balanced. But balance favors systems, not individuals. Systems reward moderation and predictability. Breakout requires imbalance. Short-term obsession beats long-term intention when the goal is repositioning. These three moves are not complex. They are psychologically brutal. Leaving non-money lanes costs identity. Moving into money contact costs comfort. Compressing effort costs security. Most people would rather add habits than subtract safety. They prefer improvement over repositioning, productivity over vulnerability. So they optimize the wrong game. They build routines, refine workflow, AGUs, stack credentials, and remain replaceable. Beating 99% does not require genius. It requires exiting comfort faster than others. That's it. Part why most people still fail. Identity, not information. Now we confront the real barrier. Most people who watch this understand every word and agree with every insight will still fail. Not because the ideas are wrong, not because timing is bad, not because they lack intelligence. They will fail because knowledge does not move people. Safety does. And the moment safety feels threatened, understanding collapses. The enemy is not laziness or ignorance. It is attachment. Attachment to comfort. Attachment to predictability. Attachment to being seen as reasonable. Most people do not stay poor because they don't understand leverage. They stay poor because they are addicted to not feeling unsafe. Fear 1, uneven income. People say they want freedom. What they actually want is freedom with a salary, upside without volatility, independence without instability, risk only if it feels insured. That combination does not exist. Uneven income is not a flaw. It is the price of leverage. Stable income is what you receive when the system does not need to negotiate with you. Irregular income appears when value is tied directly to outcomes. To most people, an unpredictable paycheck feels like danger, even when the long-term math is obvious. The emotional brain does not care about averages. It cares about next month. So people stay in capped lanes because predictability feels like survival. They tell themselves they are choosing peace, but what they are really buying is emotional anesthesia. Fear 2, being seen as stupid. This destroys more potential than failure ever could. Many people will tolerate years of under-earning, but they will not tolerate a few months of looking foolish. They fear explaining unconventional choices, being misunderstood, being judged as reckless, being talked about behind their back. So they choose paths that look intelligent, respectable, and easy to justify. This is social self-defense, and it is lethal. Breakthrough paths almost always look irrational at first. They violate norms, ignore credentials, and skip steps. That early phase comes with ridicule. Most people would rather be quietly miserable than visibly wrong. They prefer slow failure to loud risk. Fear 3, succeeding in a low-status way. People aren't just afraid of failing. They're afraid of winning the wrong way. They want wealth that looks noble, clean, admirable. They want to feel superior while succeeding. So they reject opportunities that feel too simple, unglamorous, beneath their identity, or morally uncomfortable. They say, "That's not me," or "I want to do something meaningful." Often, meaning is just a mask for avoidance. The market does not pay for your self-image. It pays for utility. And utility is often boring, unsexy, and invisible. Ego is expensive. Fear 4. Addiction to comfort. Comfort is not rest. Comfort is avoidance without pain. The ability to delay decisions without immediate consequences. Staying busy instead of being exposed. Routine, predictability, and low emotional friction. And it is chemically addictive. Even when comfort is destroying someone's future, they defend it, normalize it, romanticize it. Comfort is not neutral. Comfort is a trade, and the currency is potential. Every month spent optimizing comfort is a month not spent building leverage. Every year spent avoiding instability widens the gap. This is why people do not move. Even when the path is clear, the cost is not intellectual, it is emotional. Moving requires loss of identity, loss of certainty, loss of social validation, and loss of psychological safety. Most people would rather be unhappy than unsafe. This is why information alone never changes outcomes. People do not fail because they lack plans. They fail because they cannot tolerate the emotional withdrawal that comes from leaving comfort. Comfort is the most expensive addiction on earth. It charges slowly, so slowly that people confuse decay with stability. One day they wake up and realize the window closed. The final filter is not intelligence, effort, or knowledge. It is tolerance for discomfort. Those who win are not fearless. They simply decide short-term instability is cheaper than long-term regret. Everyone else stays. They will save this video. Quote it. Feel understood by it. Then return to the same lane, the same safety, and the same excuses. Not because they are weak, but because comfort feels like oxygen until you try to live without it. Final part. 3 real were. LD archetypes. Different lives, same cage. Now we remove the last illusion. At this stage, many people mentally exclude themselves. They think, this doesn't apply to me. My situation is different. I'm not like those people. That belief is the final trap. Because once labels are stripped away, most people fall into one of 3 archetypes. And all 3 make the same positional mistake. Different lifestyles, different stories, same structural error. Archetype 1, the employee. Employees think their problem is income, management, office politics, or lack of opportunity. They tell themselves that if they were paid more, if their boss understood their value, or if they got one promotion, everything would be fine. But the real issue isn't effort or recognition, it's position. Employees exist in a lane where money is filtered. Output does not touch revenue directly. It passes through managers, budgets, approvals, and performance reviews. Even when they are talented, their value is interpreted rather than priced. And interpreted value always has a ceiling. The employee's mistake isn't loyalty. It's dependency. Their survival depends on staying acceptable, not essential. That means avoiding risk, avoiding friction, and avoiding visibility that threatens hierarchy. Over time, they optimize behavior instead of leverage. They become reliable, agreeable, great team players, easy to keep, and just as easy to replace. If they disappear, meetings still happen, projects continue, revenue still flows. Nothing breaks. And as long as nothing breaks, nothing changes. Archetype 2, the small business owner. This one is more deceptive. From the outside they look free, no boss, no corporate leash. But look closer and a different reality appears. Many small business owners have simply traded one dependency for another. Instead of one employer, they have dozens of customers. Instead of one boss, they have constant demand. They work more, worry more, rest less, Their income may be higher, but their position is still fragile. Because the business collapses if they step away. They are not positioned. They are the position. If their presence is required for money to move, they have not escaped the lane. They have just built a larger cage. They often confuse ownership with leverage, but ownership without scalability is just self-employment with extra stress. If they disappear, revenue disappears. That is not freedom. That is a dependency dressed as independence. Archetype 3, the smart optimizer. This is the modern archetype, the one nobody wants to admit they are. They consume content, build routines, track habits, learn frameworks, improve constantly. They feel productive. They look disciplined, but they are not in money contact. They are in preparation contact. They mistake motion for progress. They are always getting ready, always refining, always one course away, one tool away, one plan away. They avoid the only thing that creates leverage, exposure to the market, so they become extremely competent, inside a lane that cannot scale. They look sharp. They stay broke, closing, hard ending, different archetypes, same cage, filtered money, capped upside, replaceable position. And the solution is not more effort. It is not more discipline. It is not more motivation. It is positioning. If you disappear and nothing breaks, you have no power, and money responds only to power. That is the line. Those who move are not better people. They simply accept discomfort sooner. Everyone else stays. Final script, cold ending, narration ready. They are embedded. Their effort touches money, but their absence destroys the system. That is not leverage. It is entanglement. The small business owners. Mistake is confusing activity with power. They believe being busy means progress, and that ownership automatically creates freedom. But ownership without leverage is just responsibility without insulation. They do not control a choke point. They are the choke point that makes them valuable and trapped. They cannot exit, slow down, or disappear. The cage looks different, but the bars are just as real. The third archetype is the creator or freelancer. This is the most seductive illusion of all. It looks like freedom, feels like autonomy, and sounds like leverage. Sometimes briefly, it even is. But most creators and freelancers make the same positional mistake as everyone else. They tie income to output instead of ownership. They are paid for producing, not for controlling distribution. Their work touches money, but only through platforms, algorithms, and unstable demand. They mistake visibility for power. They build audiences they do not own and depend on systems they cannot influence. They optimize content instead of control, so income fluctuates. Stress never settles. The future feels unstable. They call this the cost of freedom, but freedom that can disappear overnight is not freedom, it is exposure. The creator's mistake is believing independence equals leverage. It does not. Leverage comes from control points, not attention alone. If the platform changes, they suffer. If demand shifts, they scramble. If momentum slows, they panic. They are free only while conditions cooperate, which means they are not positioned, they are tolerated. 3 archetypes, 3 lifestyles, 1 shared mistake, all of them optimize inside their lane. Instead of questioning the lane itself, they work harder, get smarter, and become more disciplined. But they never ask the only question that matters. What breaks if I leave? And the answer is always the same, 5. Eerie little. The employee is replaceable. The business owner is trapped. The creator is dependent. Different lives. Same cage. The cage is not effort, intelligence, or morality. It is position. And until position changes, nothing else matters. Most people spend their lives improving execution inside roles that never gain leverage. They become better prisoners. This is why so many people feel exhausted yet unchanged. They are running faster on the same track, winning games that do not pay. And when someone points this out, they become defensive. They explain circumstances, justify choices, and list constraints. But constraints do not disappear until position changes. This is the moment of truth. Not everyone is meant to move, and most won't. Because leaving the cage means giving up the identity that made the cage feel livable. And that is the hardest trade of all. So this ends cleanly. No optimism, no encouragement, no instruction. Just the line, the decision, and the consequence. Because at this point you already know enough. The only question left is whether you will stay. The point of no return. Every real transformation contains a moment that looks nothing like progress. No clarity, no confidence, no momentum, only loss. This is the moment most people never reach. Not because it is hidden, but because it requires something they are unwilling to give up. The turning point is not knowledge, insight, or courage in the dramatic sense. The turning point is cutting the exit. Up to this point, everything you've heard can exist safely in your head. You can understand position, agree with leverage, recognize the trap of comfort, and even admit your lane is wrong, while keeping a back door open. Most people do exactly that. They say they will try, but can always go back. They experiment without burning bridges. They move slowly just in case. That safety valve is precisely why nothing changes. As long as retreat exists, your nervous system never commits. And without commitment, there is no reorientation. The game only changes when retreat becomes impossible, not because the world suddenly rewards you, but because you stop negotiating with yourself. The real shift happens when you remove the option of being carried by the old structure. No guaranteed paycheck to fall back on, no respected identity to hide behind, no narrative that excuses delay, no authority figure to blame. This is when responsibility becomes total, and total responsibility changes how you think, how you act, and what you tolerate. Most people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means working harder. It doesn't. It means owning outcomes. When something fails, there is no system to blame, no boss, no algorithm, no market excuse. There is only you. That reality is terrifying, which is why most people avoid it. But it is also where power begins. When blame disappears, helplessness disappears with it. You stop asking why this is happening to you and start asking what must change for you to survive. That question is ruthless. It strips fantasy and forces alignment. People cling to exits not because they are lazy, but because they fear exposure. As long as there is a way back, failure can be reframed as bad luck. Once the exit is cut, failure becomes data. You either adapt or collapse. Adaptation under pressure is what creates leverage. This is why so many people feel stuck for years. They keep one foot in the old world and one foot in the new. They never fully leave and never fully arrive. Permanent transition feels responsible. It produces nothing. The system does not respond to intention. It responds to commitment. Commitment means your behavior changes because it has to, not because you are motivated, not because you are inspired, but because there is no alternative. This is where excuses die. Excuses only survive when consequences are buffered. When rent is covered, reputation is protected, identity is intact. Once those buffers disappear, reality speaks clearly, and clarity under pressure is worth more than comfort with options. The point of no return is not dramatic from the outside. No applause, no announcement, no visible transformation. It often looks like fewer people around you, less certainty, more internal tension, and more quiet. But internally, something snaps into place. You stop asking permission. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop optimizing hypotheticals. You act because not acting hurts more. This is why people who truly break out describe the same feeling. I had no choice. Not because the world forced them, because they removed their own escape. Once escape is gone, focus sharpens. You stop consuming advice, debating paths, and fantasizing about outcomes. You deal with what is directly in front of you. This is when leverage emerges. Leverage is created by people who cannot afford confusion. The system does not reward those who want freedom. It responds to those who need to make something work. This is also why most people will never cross this line. Crossing it requires accepting losses up front. Loss of stability, loss of approval, loss of identity, loss of comfort. Humans avoid loss more than they pursue gain, so they hover forever just before the jump. They consume content, analyze strategies, and call it preparation. But preparation without commitment is delay, disguised as intelligence. The point of no return is not about recklessness. It is about honesty. Honesty about what is no longer acceptable, what must change, and who is responsible. Once that honesty locks in, the game stops being theoretic. You are no longer trying to get ahead. You are rebuilding your position, and there is no soft way back. That is the price. That is the threshold. And that is why freedom is rare. Because freedom begins exactly where excuses end. Final blade, cold ending. There is nothing left to explain. No missing framework, no hidden tactic, no final insight that makes this easy. If you are still waiting for reassurance, you already missed the point. 2026 will not reward effort, intelligence, discipline, or good intentions. It will reward speed of repositioning. Not because the world is unfair, but because the world is compressing. Systems are shedding weight, institutions are lagging, lanes are collapsing quietly rather than dramatically, and most people will stay inside them until the floor gives way. They will keep optimizing and improving inside structures that no longer scale. They will confuse motion with progress right up until the ceiling hits. This is not pessimism. It is mechanical. When environments change faster than people adapt, those who move early win by default. Those who move late do not fail loudly. They decay slowly, respectably, and with reasons. Here is the truth. You do not get ahead by being better inside a crowded lane. You get ahead by leaving it before the crowd understands it is crowded. Most people believe success comes from superiority, outworking, outthinking, outlasting others. That belief is comforting because it implies fairness. But wealth has never been fair. It has always been positional. Positions do not care how hard you tried. They only care where you stand when pressure hits. By the time everyone agrees a lane is dead, it has already paid its last winners. By the time a path feels safe, its upside is already capped. By the time permission arrives, leverage is gone. This is why advice fails. Advice assumes time, stability, and linear progress. None of those exist in 2026. What exists instead is asymmetry, brief, violent, and unforgiving. You either step into it early, or you watch others do it and explain why you couldn't. Most people will choose explanation. They will say the timing wasn't right, they had responsibilities, they needed more certainty, they couldn't risk it. All of that may be true, none of it matters. History does not reward reasonable people, it records outcomes, and outcomes do not negotiate. So this is the final truth. You do not beat 99% by being smarter, tougher, or more disciplined. You beat them by not being where they are, by exiting lanes before they saturate, by refusing games that punish effort, by abandoning structures that cap upside no matter how well you perform, that requires speed, not speed of action, speed of decision, the willingness to move before certainty appears, to look wrong before being right, to lose comfort before losing the window. Most people will not do this, not because they can't, because they won't let go of what keeps them calm, and that is fine. The system needs stability. It needs predictability. It needs people who stay put. It will reward them with continuity. It will not reward them with leverage. There is no call to action here, no encouragement, no hope. Hope is for people who plan to wait. This is simply the line. On one side are people who optimize effort and compete harder each year for shrinking rewards. On the other are people who reposition early, accept short-term instability, and exit the crowd. Both groups will work hard, both will be intelligent, both will feel justified. Only one will compound. 2026 will not reward effort. It will reward speed of repositioning. You don't beat 99% by being better. You beat them by not being there.